Today's webinar is on consultations, and we see consultations as one of the most important things that happen in the salon. We're in a unique time in our industry. Our industry, business in general, has made transitions and made many, many adjustments that have led business to be almost digitally driven and digitally oriented. Many, many parts of business take place without human connection and without human interaction. And yet, in the beauty industry specifically, we thrive on human connection and human interaction. We thrive on personal conversations and personal connection. We thrive on one-on-one relationships. And the importance and the quality of those relationships is what really creates a quality result in the salon. Today's webinar will be presented by Jessee Skittrall. Jessee is a salon owner in Seattle, in the Seattle Northwest area. He owns two salons, the Swank Style Studio in Everett, and then also one further closer to the coast. My name's Gary Call. I'm the Vice President of Brocato. I'm also going to be on today's webinar. I'm going to be answering the questions behind the scenes and chiming in a little here and there, and Jessee will be presenting the bulk of the webinar. So without any further information, I'm going to turn the time over to Jessee and give him the opportunity to present the agenda and what we have planned for you on today's consultation webinar. We welcome you and we're glad to have you here. Jess?
Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate it. I get so excited and passionate about this topic, and it thrills me. But before we actually get started, one of the things to keep in mind, as Gary mentioned, is we connect socially, and we really want to make sure that we're using our social pieces to augment what we're doing in the salon and creating that physical connection with our guests. So some of the ways that we can continue this conversation once we're done is join us on Facebook at brocatotoday.com and let us know how this is working for you or what you've implemented, and let other people know that missed this to check this information out. Of course, in the next 48 hours, this will be posted on YouTube as well, so you have the opportunity to visit it or to send it out to anybody that you work with. Continue the conversation on Twitter as well, and then post your work of what you're achieving through the creativity that happens here on brocatotoday.com's Instagram as well. So we're very thrilled to have this, and I get very excited about this. So I want to go over the agenda so it keeps me a little bit focused. What we're going to talk about is really the why we do this and how we're doing it, and then we're going to break it down into a series of steps called Greeting, Discovery, Consult, Do, Finish, Close. We'll hit some best practices, and then we'll review as well at the very end of this. And I get excited about this because, to me, this is the most important skill that a hairdresser has to master. I have seen hairdressers that are insanely incredible go down in a blaze of glory because they don't know how to connect and control the consultation and maximize their productivity and profitability behind the chair. So what I want to do is share a system with you. If you master this skill and you perfect this over and over and take a little bit of it, perfect it, and then move on to the next skill, you'll really be able to maximize your creativity in the salon. So the key thing is, why do we do this? There's three different pieces here that are really important. One is to maximize your creativity behind the chair. I find there's two different types of salons that we experience. There's the make them salons and the maintain them salons. The maintain them salons are the clients that walk in for $29.95 and they sit down and get a perm and they tell them what they're going to do. I want you to take a ½ inch off and cut it into a perfectly layered haircut. And they tell them what they're going to do. Those have no value and they burn through hairdressers very quickly. The make them salons are the salons that make images and help and partner with the guest and create a connection to really be the best version of themselves. So this is about maximizing your creativity and not just opening up your toolbox, but opening up your toolbox and exposing all of the tools to your guests. The second part is to create a retail culture, so it becomes a habit in the salon. So if you follow the steps that are here, there is a way that you can create an automatic conversation that happens around retail that makes it organic. So it eliminates that whole conversation of, how do I create a selling system? I don't want you to create a selling system. I want you to create an education system where you're educating your guests. I'm going to show you how, and better yet, I'm going to show you the words that are involved. And I think that's the most important. Is we throw this information at hairdressers and we say do this, but we don't tell them exactly what words to do to kickstart them as well. But what this will also do for your guests is create consistency in the salon, which is very important, so that they understand that this is the process to be expected every single time, and it really helps to raise the bar on everything that you do. This will help to maximize your service and your sales opportunities in the salon. So step one, what's the first thing that we do when a guest walks through our front door? We do a greeting. And there's a couple of key things that are vitally important that I really want to drive through. Whether it's the stylist that's greeting or whether it's the front desk person, you want to practice the beat the greet. Beat the greet happens within the first 3 seconds of the guest walking through the front door. You want to be the first one to stick out your hand and say hi and give an enthusiastic, sincere greeting. That's one of the biggest challenges that you find when you look at service situations is somebody will walk in and stand around and wait to be greeted. So even encourage your front desk person, even if they're on the phone, to look up from the phone and at least give a visual wave that connects to them. We call it green lighting if you're working in the restaurant business. You want to green light the client and make sure you understand that they're there. So beat that greet within the first 3 seconds that they're there. Give them an enthusiastic, sincere greeting, and it's going to be vitally important. When you greet that guest, of course, we want to give a firm handshake and take them back to the chair and start that conversation in the salon. One of the couple of best practices that I highly recommend in the salon is to guide and tour the guest through the salon. Nothing is worse than when you're working with a guest and you have to step away that you don't let them know what you're doing. So make sure that you guide and tour them through the salon. You're going to head them back to the shampoo bowls, or I need to step away and grab a brush, or whatever the situation maybe is. So make sure you guide and tour them through. Hang up their coat for them. Simply saying there's a rack to hang up. Be of service. This really shows being of service. Get them the beverage rather than pointing to the beverage station. So offer them a cup of coffee and physically go get that as well. And then another key piece about greeting is no pointing. Make sure that you use an open palm or you use a couple of fingers when you're pointing in a direction or when you're directing a client through the salon. Nothing is more rude than pointing at something. So you really want to make sure and be very aware and mindful of what you're doing. You really want the guest to feel good about doing business with you. Your first impression is probably going to start online now. That's really where the first impression starts. The second impression is reinforced with that phone call. And if any of those have been dropped for whatever reason, this is your opportunity to pick up the ball and leave an amazing impression on the guest.
Jesse?
Yes, sir.
When you and I were talking earlier this week, one of the things that we mentioned when we were having lunch was that anyone who's in the service industry, if you have a client who works in the service industry, there's nothing they appreciate more than when you give them service. So if they work in a service industry and you hang up their coat or you get them coffee and you start giving them that kind of service, it does huge things for client retention and huge things for really understanding how much you care about them, for you to give them service, not just point out how they can help themselves.
You couldn't hit the nail on the head more if you tried. That's exactly it. It's amazing what just that simple behavior will do. So a great thing that I encourage stylists to do is at this point is really think about the words that you use. So one of the first isms that I like to tell people is specifically with the current generation of hairdressers is there's a lot of language that has become normal that's not acceptable in the salon. So great example is my bad. Eliminate that. Or no problem. I want it to be my pleasure. So we take away no problem and turn it into my pleasure. And it's amazing when you do something like that, how people will notice and how it sets the tone for the rest of the service, and they're much more receptive as well. So a couple of different key best practices here under greeting is use their name at least 3 times. The most important thing for them to hear is their name. This is about them. They come to us to feel amazing at the end of it. We don't sell hair services. We don't sell products. We sell an amazing experience and make them feel good about themselves. And the way that starts is by using their name. They need to receive 3 compliments while they're in your establishment. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to walk over and say, I like your hat, your shoes, your purse, let's go. That means that they need to receive 3 compliments throughout the cycle of being in the salon. So train your team that they need to give those compliments freely as well. And they have to be honest and sincere. They also need to receive 3 tie downs. Again, train your team as they're walking around and they see hair being done. Wow, that color looks really shiny and intense. That color is incredible. The shape is incredible. Look at that volume. Those are tie downs that help reinforce what I'm currently doing behind the chair. So make it a habit as a team to do tie downs. The guest also needs to be touched 3 times. Handshake, on the arm, quick hug if they're an existing guest in the salon. They need to be touched 3 times, and that includes the shampoo throughout the cycle by different people. So make sure that your team is aware they need to be use their name 3 times, 3 compliments, 3 tie-downs, and 3 touch points. Now, that takes us into our next conversation, which is discovery. Now, in discovery, we've taken the guest back, we've greeted her, we got her to the station, we sat her down, we placed her purse appropriately, we've got her the beverage, we hung up her coat, things are going really well. She has an incredible experience thus far with us, and now we actually have to start the consultation. So the first thing that I encourage people to do is understand what discovery is. Discovery is discovering the problems or challenges that the guest may or may not be aware of with their hair, skin, nails, or makeup. This is purely fact-finding. It is purely discovery. This does not solve the problem. So a couple key things to note here is sit down in front of that guest in a stool situation. Notice in the image here how the guest is turned away from the mirror. They're not talking through the mirror. They're actually sitting in a chair or a stool or a styling chair that's close by, and get in front of that guest and have an eye-to-eye conversation. The biggest challenge, especially right now, is people crave for that physical connection and that visual connection with people, and put down the phone, get eyeball to eyeball, and get your head right level with theirs as well. One of the key things that I find that happens with new hairdressers, especially once they hit the floor, is when they start to do their consultation and they're in the discovery phase, they cape the guest and start asking questions. It seems to be this bad kind of beauty school habit that's happened. They want to like push things along, so they grab the cape and start caping the client and then start asking questions. Well, it's very off-putting. You haven't really been given permission to move forward. You have no set of agreement. You're really still in a get-to-know situation. So do not cape that guest until you get agreement, which is going to be in the next step before you actually move on. And what I want you to do is practice mirroring. Mirroring is very important, especially with a new guest. Now, mirroring when you sit with a guest is not about mimicking or mocking or acting. This is about the conversation pace, mirror the conversation pace. So if she's a fast talker, you need to be a fast talker. If she's a quiet talker, you need to be a quiet talker. If her tone is calm, you need to be calm. If she has lots of energy, you need to be energetic. If her movements are limited, your movements need to be limited. And that mirroring helps them to feel better about doing business with you. People want to do business with people that look and sound and act like them. And that you really only need to mirror the first 3 to 5 minutes of that conversation, because it helps them just really connect with you at that point, and they'll be actively listening if you practice mirroring. It's one of those subconscious things that'll make a huge difference. Now, a couple of key things in discovery that you're going to do. The first is to ask an open-ended question. There's a time and a place for open-ended questions, and there's a time and a place for closed-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that cannot be answered with a yes or a no. This is to propel the conversation. You want to keep the conversation forward. If you take any form of acting classes, it's the yes and, we want to keep that conversation going. With a guest who gives too much information and is a chatty Cathy, that's the time and the place to ask a closed-ended question. So we're going to take a ½ an inch off of your hair and cut it to here. Is that correct, Cathy? And that's a closed-ended statement that says yes or no, that stops the conversation. So understand how to propel the conversation or to how to close down the conversation. So some really great examples. I can give you examples and create questions for you till I'm blue in the face, but this has to be something that's organic to you that starts the conversation. So take these as ideas, but don't mimic me as a script. So know what to do with the information. So some great open-ended questions. If your hair could say anything about you, what would you want it to say? Do you have a specific idea, or are you looking for ideas for your look? What do you like best about your hair? What do you like least about your hair? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the biggest change, what number are you looking for? If I gave you the shears and said start cutting, where would you begin? When did you like your hair the most? What's one word that best describes your personality? And how much time do you spend on your hair? Those are all incredible open-ended questions that propel the conversation and can go in a million different directions. You want to start the conversation. The death question is, what do you want to do with your hair? What that says is, here's my toolbox, let me open it up, you pick the tool, and I'll put it on. The refrigerator repairman does not come and fix your refrigerator and you hand him a Phillips screwdriver and say you only get to use a Phillips screwdriver. I tell you what tools we're going to use, you tell me what outcome you're looking for, and that's really what the conversation is about. An easy way to manage that is to talk about their look. So stop talking about the hair, start talking about their look, because the look involves the haircut. It involves the color, it involves the makeup, it involves the products that you use to achieve that. That's a look. And when you talk about a look, it gives you a broader scope and a perspective. And about a third of your conversation needs to be about the haircut shape, a third of it needs to be about the products, and a third of it needs to be about texture or color. I always like to ask, so what's the hair color plan? Even if they don't plan on getting hair color with me, what's your long-range hair color plan? Now, when I do these classes, a lot of times I get smacked with, how do you have this conversation with an existing guest? And I'm going to give you a key phrase that works very, very well with an existing guest to really control the conversation. Mrs. Gottschalks, I had some clear thoughts about your hair and how to keep it fresh, but what are your thoughts first? What that says is, I thought about you, I have ideas, but let's hear what you have to say. And what you're going to find with that existing guest in discovery is she's going to turn it over to you and go, what do you want to do? And if you behave this way and ask these types of questions, what you'll find is more often than not, they'll just look at you and say, what do you think? And they hand you the artistic creativity, and that's when it goes crazy from that point. But you have to ask the right questions that propel the conversation. The other thing you need to practice here is active listening. Active listening is the hardest for hairdressers because we move very quickly, and in our brains, we're already in the back room mixing hair color when we really need to be in that moment with her, discovering where she's at. And this is vitally, vitally important because this is where things get messed up. So with active listening, there's 3 parts to this. There's 3 R's. I want you to refrain, rephrase, and repeat. So if she says to you, I want to take a ½ inch off, keep the same shape that's there, and trim my bangs. I don't want you to do anything else except for refrain from giving her a solution, rephrase it back to her, and repeat it back to her. So Mrs. Gottschalks, if I hear this correctly, what you're saying is, we're just going to take a ½ inch off your hair, and that's to here. We're going to trim your bangs. I'm going to guess to your eyebrows. Is that correct? Before you move on, all you're going to do is confirm the facts that you found in discovery. This isn't about offering solutions. This is about what are the challenges or problems that she has, and let's confirm them. So I hope that makes sense. The discovery is a separate process, and it happens very fast and organically, but don't move on until you've actively listened. So a great example to illustrate active listening is, I was in a salon on the East Coast with a very well-known hair colorist, and he was doing a foil on his guest. The guest sat down. She said, hey, I want to go lighter with my hair color. He got in the back, he mixed up powder lightener and did micro weaves back to back. There was foils flying all over the place. Beautiful application, assistance rinsing. It was amazing. Sat down, took the towel off of the head, and her question to him was, when are you going to put in the low lights? What she meant by lighter was less amount of highlights, not lighter in color. But he went off half-cocked because he wasn't actively listening. He did nothing wrong technically, but he created a color correction situation because he wasn't actively listening. So make sure that you actively listen to that guest and make sure you understand what her needs are. Do you want it over the ear or clearing the top of the ear? Do you want it shoulder length or collarbone length? I mean, those are 2 huge, big, different things. So make sure you clarify and actively listen. The next step is actually the consultation, or the consult step. And this is a vital step here. And this is where you're going to understand what this is. You're presenting your products or services as a solution to the problems or challenges they identified in the discovery process. So here is where retailing starts to happen. What I find with hairdressers is we have a tendency to use products because they're a tool that we use, but then we ask the client at the very end if she wants any. But you have to guide them through the process and bring them along. You can't just jump on them with it. So this is where the first third of retailing happens. So what you're going to do is position your products or services as the solution for whatever challenges you have. So a great example of that is Super Silk Express. Right now, Super Silk Express for us in the salon is a hot service. She's going to tell me in discovery, my hair is really frizzy and it's hot out right now, and I don't want to spend all this energy blow drying, but I don't want to be a hot mess with this hair. What can I put on it? That's usually how the conversation goes. So I would make sure and repeat that back to her. So what I'm hearing you say is you have a lot of frizz going on with your hair and you have a hard time blow drying it, and even if you blow dry it, it gets big again. Did I hear that correct? And she's going to say yes. I would then consult immediately with her and say, you know what you might give some thought to is Super Silk Express is a great service. It takes no more time. We could simply spray it in the hair, blow dry it in the hair, and a light flat iron. It costs $40 extra over and above your haircut service. We can do that. Does that work for you today? And that's a consultation at that point. I've now presented my solution very quickly to what I found in discovery, but I clarified before I moved on. So some key things here that you want to make sure is that you use solution verbiage and you pick your words very carefully, because you cannot unpaint the picture. So especially when you're talking hair color, you want to make sure that when you talk about lowlights, you don't talk about going dark or extreme conversation. Make sure you pick your words that paint a picture very carefully for you as you're explaining to the guests what they're going to be. This is also where the first third of retailing happens. When you sit with a guest, we all have a plan on what products we're going to use with the guest. They may be the same. You may use Hold on everybody. I don't care. But whatever you do, have a plan. When you look at them, you know she has fine hair. You know what the problem is going to be. You know what the product is going to be for that solution. So when you sit with that guest and you do the consultation, what I encourage you to do is have nothing on your station. And as you consult, she says her hair is fine, it's frizzy, it flies away. I'm going to tell her, you know, I have some ideas for you, and I'm going to step away for 2 seconds and I'll be right back. I want you to walk over to the product shelf and grab the shampoo, conditioner, and styling aid you're going to use on her, brand new off the shelf, and put it right in front of her in the consultation. She doesn't have to hold it. You don't have to stick it in her hand. You just simply have to put it in front of her. That's it. Is put it in front of her and let her do the job. We're going to use 12 volume shampoo and treatment on you to get this kick started. This is just going to create a little bit of volume in your hair and create expansion once heat's applied. This is Blonde Bombshell. I'm going to apply Blonde Bombshell on the hair, and when we go to blow dry, you'll see how it's going to create some volume in your hair. That's really it. That's the first third of retailing, is have the plan, but you have to have that conversation in the consultation. It's going to be vitally important. Now, I get hit a lot with, how do you handle that with an existing guest that's in the chair? You have to hark back to what she's purchased in the past. She's going to tell you that she's been using this shampoo, this conditioner, etc., etc. And the exact verbiage needs to sound like this. When you get bored, I want to introduce you to, because they're going to get bored. So introduce them, and then you have permission to introduce them to what you're going to introduce them to. In this case, it's 12 volume shampoo and treatment. So you're going to pull those products and you're going to boutique them. If you've ever gone to the makeup counters at Nordstrom's or Macy's, you've experienced this. When you sit down, they lay the products out from left to right, right in front of you, and it tells a story, and they are put in front of you so that you see which one goes on first, which one goes on second, which one goes on third. It tells a story. It's called boutiquing. So make sure that you boutique right in front of them. It's going to be vitally important. Paint a picture for them, how these products work into what you're going to be doing with their services. We're going to be doing a Super Silk Express. She's going to be using these products at home. This is what we suggest. And I'm going to show you some tricks on how to blow dry the hair as we go through. Now, the second part about this, when you're consulting, one of the things I encourage you to do is always ask what the hair color plan is, even if they're not getting hair color with you, and throw out some ideas at them, and have a plan, not just for that day, but also working for the future. Just plant the seed, and avoid the fast food hair coloring, where you pull out the swatch and you say, tell me what color you want, and here we go. Have a plan for them. Dark recedes, light brings out. If we put a few highlights here, if we put a little low light there, and paint a picture for them. It's going to be vitally important. So what we encourage you to do is the three-part education with products. Recommend is going to be the first one, and that's going to happen in the consultation. Then you're going to educate them and demonstrate them, and I'll show you how that happens here in a second. Now, once you've painted the picture for them, you've discovered, you've consulted, you've decided what you're going to do, and you've decided that you're going to move on, you need to get agreement. It's vitally important at this point that you get agreement from her. Does all of that sound good to you? Is that important to you? Is that okay with you? Can we move forward? And at this point, you're going to make sure that you've discussed price with her if it's important. Is a conversation about price important to you? And if she says yes, great, you're going to whip out your menu, you're going to discuss price. A haircut costs this, the color costs this. Don't use dollars. Actually, just say $40 for the haircut, $50 for the color, and let her do the math at that point, and she can make that decision. And get agreement before you move on. Is that okay for us to move forward? And she says yes. That's the moment where you can begin to cape and you can move forward from that moment. But don't cape your guest until you get agreement. Vitally, vitally, vitally important. So you're going to greet the guest. You're going to do discovery, which is just pure fact-finding. You're going to consult, which is positioning your products as the solution for whatever you found in the discovery, and you're going to boutique those products all the way across. Now you're just going to do. This is the second part of the service where you just do it. You've gotten the agreement. You're going to take her back to the shampoo bowl. You're going to give her an amazing shampoo. Key thing here with that shampoo is if you've not received a compliment on your shampoo in a week, check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's vitally important that that guest raves about the shampoo. The tip is made in the shampoo. Every guest loves to have their head touched. It's very rare that you're going to have one. So make sure you're doing it. I don't care what your pattern is, but make sure it's an amazing shampoo. Shut your mouth while you're doing the shampoo and follow their lead. If they talk, you talk. If they don't, you don't. Follow their lead. This isn't the time to do product education. The time to do product education is at the chair. Just let them relax at this point. Sincere engagement. So really connect with that guest. Now what I find is hairdressers have a hard time figuring out what to talk about. They know what not to talk about. We know sex, politics, and religion are off the table here. So those are definitely things that we don't want to discuss. But what do I discuss? Because you need to make it about them. And a lot of times the guests will feel the need to ask a lot of questions about you because they're being polite. Don't lose sight of the fact that this is not about you. This is about them. So if they ask about you, be polite, of course, answer their questions, but try to figure out how to bring it back to being about them. So an easy way to do that is follow the FORD concept, F-O-R-D. F stands for family and friends. So talk about their family and friends. O stands for occupation. What do they do for a living? R stands for recreation. What do they do with their free time? And D stands for dreams. What do they wish they want to do with their free time? And what you'll find if you follow that pattern of F-O-R-D, you'll find some common area that you can connect on, and you can hark back. Oh, you have a 5-year-old son. I do as well. Oh my gosh, kindergarten. And then the next thing you know, you have this wonderful conversation that creates that connection and circle back to the guest. That gives you some sincere engagement. Now what you're going to do while you're doing this is you're going to educate the guest. So we recommended in consult, now we're going to educate the guest. So we're going to stop the conversation, and this is that second third of retailing. And you're going to give them a what to use with a what to do. So this is Blonde Bombshell that we talked about in the very beginning. I'm just going to put 2 or 3 pumps, Mrs. Gottschalks, right on your crown, right focused at the scalp. We'll give it a quick comb through. I'm going to blow dry with a round brush, just making sure that the hair goes around the round brush about 1.5 times. And then you immediately jump into your conversation and come back to the conversation that you had. It's really simple. It takes 5 seconds. It's vitally important that you give a what to do with a what to use. If you just say use Blonde Bombshell, whoop-de-ding-ding. It doesn't make a bit of difference. If you say use Blonde Bombshell with this round brush and here's where you're going to put it, it's vitally important. So you want to make sure that you give no sneak attacks to the guest. So I watch hairdressers all the time. They'll put some in their hand and they're kind of behind the guest. They'll put whatever product in their hand and the guest doesn't really see what's going on and they kind of just put the product off to the side. The label isn't facing the guest. They rub it around and put it on the head. Well, some sticky stuff just got stuck on the client's head. She has no idea how much, where does she put it. So make sure you do a presentation with it. The ritual of retailing is I'm going to pick up the product, I'm going to put it in my hand. She needs to see that I'm putting in a quarter size amount of that product, working it around, and here's where I'm focusing it right on the scalp, and face that product for her in that boutiquing ritual so that she sees. So there's no sneak attacks, so she understands exactly what's being put on her head. You're educating her in that moment while you're having this sincere engagement. It's vitally important that you do that middle third piece. And then once you get all said and done, you're going to finish, you're going to blow dry out the hair. It's going to look incredible with the guests. You want to make sure and give them, this is where you demonstrate. So we recommend in the beginning, we educate in the middle, we demonstrate at the end. Demonstrate means she needs to see and touch and feel that hair. So Mrs. Gottschalks, feel that hair. Can you feel the guts that the blonde bombshell gave you at the scalp? And it gave you a lot of stick factor, but it's still movable and touchable, and how shiny it is. It's vitally important that she feels that hair and sees it. And a big question I like to ask in the discovery process is, how do you like your hair to feel once it's said and done? Do you like it to be done for the day and you don't touch it, and you like to feel product in your hair? Or are you a hair toucher and you move it all the way around? So how does that hair feel? So you need to connect back to that original conversation. Hand her the mirror and give her the 360 view. We're just going to take you on a tour of this hair and take a look at the back, and then you get agreement. You can see how you have the volume and these beautiful layers and whatever the situation may be is, and connect it back to the product. Now, one of the key things that I encourage hairdressers to understand about finishing is, don't take the cape off. I know this sounds really weird. That whatever conversation you need to have before the cape comes off needs to happen, because the second that that cape comes off, she is mentally checking out at the front door. So what I vitally encourage you to do is have the pre-book conversation now. So have a date suggestion in mind. So I find in our salon it works really well. At the beginning of the week, we take and find out what is the date 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and 8 weeks from Tuesday, so that we have that all at our station. So I can say, Mrs. Gottschalks, this is a short haircut. Hair grows about a ½ inch a month. So in 4 weeks, you're going to have a ½ inch. In 8 weeks, you're going to have an inch. So let's split the difference. Let's see you back in 6 weeks. That's May 5th. And use the date when you talk to them. It's going to be vitally important that you use the date, because dates mean something to them. 5 weeks means nothing to them. Oh, May 5th. My anniversary is May 4th. I probably need to come in May 3rd so that I look great for that, or we're going on vacation, or whatever the case may be is, and it starts that conversation. But don't take the cape off before you make the pre-book suggestion. Create a sense of urgency. You know, we're coming into the holidays. We're coming into back to school. This other stylist is going on vacation, so you're going to want to probably make sure and book that now. And if they don't book it, coach your front desk staff to make sure and fill out the date that they should be targeting on a card. And I'll even hand it to them and say, here's your target date. I want you to put this on the fridge. You need to give me a call a little bit beforehand, because we book up very fast. You need to make sure that that happens. And if you can't get in, I'm sorry, and I got to say, I told you so. And what you'll find is you'll do that once or twice with a guest, and eventually they get the message. They need to pre-book before they leave. And now we have guests. I have one stylist that books a year out. So all of her guests will book 12 weeks out, 12 months out at a rotation, because they know how busy she gets in the salon. You only have to do that once or twice and create that sense of urgency. Even if you are completely available, you need to look like you're unavailable to the guest. It's going to be vitally important that they get that date. Once that comes off, once the cape comes off, at that point, she's mentally checked out. So you better make sure that you have that pre-book done there. And what I encourage you to do is don't close. It's hairdressers, I find they know they're supposed to have the product conversation. So at the very end, they'll go, "Are you okay on products?" Which is code for, I didn't do my job, but I know to ask the question. So if you did your job and if you recommended in the beginning, you educated and you demonstrated, it just becomes part of the conversation. There's no such thing as a close. It's just a, do you want them? It's no harm, no foul at that point. She's either going to say yeah or no at that point. And if they say no, I like to make sure and sample them and make sure they leave. You know, give it a try outside the salon, but make sure they say no first before you actually do it. And at that point, you're going to take the cape off and you're going to walk her up to the front desk. Vitally important. Nothing is worse than the goodbye from the station. Yeah, Amanda will take care of you at the front desk. Walk her up to the front desk. Introduce her to your front desk coordinator, whoever that's going to be at the moment. This is Amanda. She's going to take good care of you. And there's some specific things that you want to take care of here. You've already given the retail suggestions, you've already given the rebook suggestions. So there's a couple of different things that need to happen up at the front desk. One, and it goes in this order. I had fun with you today and I would love to meet your friends. Here are some of my cards and our referral program is. So the first thing you ask for is the referral. Here's some of my cards. I'd love to meet your friends if they're as much fun as you. If the client was a pain in the butt and you never want to see her again, $10, her friends are the same. Don't ask her for referrals. Duh. It's not that hard. So make sure you ask her for referrals, give her some cards before you leave, and then give her a sincere thank you from you and the team and an invitation to return. Let me just say this again. A sincere thank you from you and your salon team and an invitation to return. It's amazing how often just that little invitation to return makes a huge difference. If you have a guest in your home and you want them to come back, what do? You invite them before they leave on the last visit. Sometimes people just want to feel invited, and you'd be surprised at how often that makes a difference. And it has to come off as sincere. I really enjoyed my time to you. I look forward to seeing you in 4 weeks. That's May 5th. And that's the last thing you mention, and Amanda here will take care of you, your front desk coordinator. Now, you have to coach whoever is working at the front desk. The first thing they need to do is pre-book. 4 weeks is May 5th. Would you like morning or afternoon? Don't ring out. Don't do any of that. If you don't pre-book before you ring out, you're going to lose it. So the last thing you need to tell her is, I'm looking forward to seeing you May 5th. And I encourage you to have that little piece of paper with the dates actually on the front desk so they can see it right there. Oh, that's May 5th. I'll come back at 7 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's do a color at that point, or we talked about future services, whatever the situation may be. You book the appointment. If they don't book the appointment, then of course you put the target date down on a card. Did you want to take any of these products home with you? Is what the front desk coordinator is going to say. There's the products, and she's either going to say yes or no. No harm, no foul. Great, have a nice day. There you are. She's going to ring out the sale, leave her feeling absolutely phenomenal, and walk away. Now, this is also the point where I encourage new hairdressers to walk away, because a lot of times there's the hovering to see what she tips, and they want to manage it all the way through the process. Let the front desk coordinator do her job, walk away, and leave an incredible feeling. Thank them for their time, give them a sincere thank you, and that's a close. So that's really the whole process. The whole process is going to be greeting, making them feel good about doing business with you, discovery, which is helping them understand the problems they may or may not know they have, consulting, give them the plan, and you're going to retail in a third. Recommend, educate, demonstrate. In that consult is where the first third happens. Boutique the product in front of them and demonstrate, educate them on how to use the products during the do process after you've given them a wonderful shampoo and you've got an agreement, and then demonstrate at the end what it actually did for them and all the way through the process. Make them feel it, make them touch it. No sneak attacks. There can be no sneak attacks at all, and make sure you rebook them before the cape comes off. Those are some of your best practices. So just kind of a visual, greeting, discovery, consult, do, have a fun time, forward them to death, family, occupation, recreation, dreams, finish them out, and then close at the front desk. A sincere thank you.
That's a great, great consultation, Jessee. Can you share with us really quickly how this has affected your communication and retail results within the salon?
Oh, thank you, Gary. One of the things that's happened in our salon is we maintain this sounds really like a strange number, a 22.3% retail to total, meaning 22.3% of our overall business is retail because we follow this system religiously. And what I find is interesting is I've work with salons across the country that don't want to come off as pushy. We never have guests say we're pushy or we're salesy because of the organic way the conversation goes. If you at the very end say, hey, do you want these products? It comes off as pushy at that point. So this is a really great way to create a retail culture in the salon, and it has some very valuable effects. 22.3% of our business is retail in the salon.
I know, Jessee, just in the last little while you purchased a second salon. How difficult was it to share this culture with your new salon?
It actually we presented it as an overview, just like what we did today. And the one thing that I encourage stylists to do is to take a week and master one piece. So take the greeting and just master all the pieces of that, and make sure you do that with everybody. And that's exactly what we did. Every week there was a new skill set, and at the end of 6 weeks, it organically became part of the conversation. What's interesting is the other salon has more of an older set of clientele. So we move a ton of hairspray through there, not a ton of shampoo, but we're still having the conversation with a client that they're seeing every single week. So it's been very fun to be able to incorporate it. And again, 22.3% of the business.
So they've increased their retail as well. And
Exponentially.
business. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for the information, and thanks for sharing.
Thank you. My pleasure.
We've got some great promotions happening in July and August. Of course, it's back to school time, so we have our back to school leaders. We've added a couple of flavors of leaders this time. We're offering Curl Karma shampoo and treatment, as well as Curl Interrupted shampoo. And we also have Hold On gel and Power Fix hairspray available as part of our leader sale. So check with your distributors and let them know that you're interested in being involved with our leader sales. Savings are up to 47%. Not many salons go crazy with Hold On gel and Power Fix leaders, but you know, that's great for your back bar, and it's great to have available as a service product in the salon to refill on your stations. And we did want to remind everybody that we now do have Hold On and Power Fix back in leader sizes. So it was a great way to share that with you. We also,
hey, Gary,
yeah.
Just a quick thing to add on top of this. One, I can tell you personally, as a Brocato Diamond Salon, we pay our rent selling leaders in the salon. There's three things as a salon owner that I look at. One is the consultation that we just looked at. The second is product knowledge, really understanding your product. And the third is having promotions or a marketing calendar like this. It gives me something new and exciting to talk about. And our clients look for leaders every year. This is an opportunity not to be balked at. It's an incredible opportunity and something new and fresh to talk about.
One of the things that happens inside of Jessee's salon that I know they do very well is they share promotional information in their weekly huddles. So each of the stylists knows what's on promotion. Promotions are very important in presenting to their customers. So probably that's a topic of a future webinar, Jess, is to walk through how you work through promotions
Absolutely.
in the salon and how we communicate the promotions to your staff and also to your customers. They use emails, they use Facebook, and they also make sure that the customers are very, very focused on growing retail together. So it's a great campaign. Yeah. Also, we have the opportunity of expanding our buy two, get one free sales. Last month, we had all of our aerosol products, aerosol mousse and movable hold and maximum hold hairspray on buy two, get one free. This month, in July and August, we've expanded our buy two, get one free sale to include all of our styling products with the exception of Cloud9 Mousse and Actives. So you'll find almost every styling product available: Power Fix, Free Fix, Blonde Bombshell, Shimmer Sprays, Curl Interrupted, Curl Karma, Swell Volume Gel Mousse. I can't think of all of them. So if there's a favorite styling product that you've loved in your salon from Brocato, this is the time to run a promotion in your salon. So check with your distributor. They're all available at buy two, get one free. They're available with stickers so that you can let your guests know that they can stock up as well. So it's a great time to stock up for your retail as well as to pass the savings on to your customers. We're also excited with Super Silk, because Super Silk has a brand new image. You can see in the photos here, the Super Silk retail products are all introduced in a brand new clean image. It's still purple. There's still 4 products: Pure Indulgence Shampoo, Pure Indulgence Rinse Out Conditioner, Leave-In Treatment, and 8X. They've got a clean, sparkly image, and they're still at 40% off during July and August. And the Super Silk treatment is supported with 2 phenomenal new promotions. Our new Stylist kit on the left-hand side now contains 3 bottles of Super Silk solution, and as well as detox shampoo, leave-in treatment, and rinse-out conditioner, and that's at 68% savings. And there's also a brand new Stylist training kit that many distributors actually have right in the car for the sales consultants to make available to you immediately. And this includes small bottles of detoxify shampoo, rinse out conditioner, leave-in treatment, and also includes the retail Super Silk shampoo, and it has 1 bottle of Super Silk solution. So it's just enough product for 3 services and enough to try the Super Silk service in your salon. So there's a great opportunity to introduce Super Silk within your salon during July and August, and to see the great new Super Silk images. We also have a brand new purple VibraStraight iron that's shipping now to the distributors. They'll receive it this week and next week. It has 2 temperature settings, and it's available now at 20% savings. This iron is at a discounted savings. Many of you have the VibraStraight iron with the green plates. This iron has 2 temperatures, and it's an analog iron. It doesn't have the digital readout. It's less expensive for you in the salon, and also it's priced so that you can easily retail it to your clients. If you've got clients who've always wanted a VibraStraight iron, but you've been afraid of the price because it's an expensive professional iron, this new iron is priced in such a way that you'll be able to retail it to your clients and retail it into the salon. So be sure and get a hold of your distributor and find out about the new VibraStraight iron that's now coming out and now available for retail in your salons. So that's the great promotions that are available. Our next webinar is going to be held on August 11th at 1 p.m. Central Time. It'll feature Jessee again with some great information on autumn blonding. We've already started the conversation about this one. Jessee and I have been working on some ideas. You'll be hosted by Jeremy Schiffley from Wisconsin. And the concepts here really have to do with how to evolve your summer blondes, both the blondes you created during the summer and the blondes that have kind of happened by accident because of summer blonding and summer sun bleaching, and how to take them into fall blondes. And this is more than just adding lowlights to your blondes. This is about helping them remain blonde, but taking them into a real beautiful commercial blonde that can be continued and maintained through the fall. So we've got some exciting ideas and some color tips for you that will really help you continue to have great commercial blonde color in the fall. Hair that's beautiful and shiny and gorgeous, of course, with Brocato Color Project. That concludes our webinar for today, reminding you, of course, that it's important to stay connected with us on Facebook. Make sure that you look for all of our webinars on YouTube. We'll send you out a link shortly for this webinar, and you'll be able to share it and watch it once again. Share your photos of your work on Instagram, and hopefully maybe someday you'll get posted on Facebook. We share Instagram photos with people all along, and we like watching your comments on Twitter as well. Thanks for the comments and for the conversations that have gone on. We'll be sending you the link later this afternoon. Does anybody have any questions or anything that we can help you with? Any questions about consultation that you'd like to ask before we sign off? Great. It looks like we've done a great job, Jessee.
Wow.
Consultation is really, really a big deal, and anything you can do to share consultation tips with your staff is an important thing. I know Jessee's planning on using this webinar with his staff and playing it for them on a regular basis, and that would be the recommendation I'd make. We'll send the link out to you probably this afternoon, and I'd suggest that you use this as a staff meeting and share it with your staff and with other stylists.